Hi, this is Mrs. Kidman, and in this video, we're going to be discussing how we can use imaginary numbers to simplify radicals. So in our previous video, we discussed how an imaginary number, or I, is equal to the square root of -1. And the reason why is -1, the reason why is that I is equal to the square root of -1. So I squared is equal to -1. So -1 breaks down into I and I. So if it's in our square root, we can factor it out and get a single I. So let's go ahead and simplify a couple of numbers here. So the square root of 25, well, that breaks down into 5 and 5. So this equals 5. The square root of 25, the way we're going to simplify this is factor out a -1 first and then simplify our 25. So we get 5 and 5. Now -1 simplifies into imaginary times imaginary. So we can factor out an imaginary number and 5. So this becomes 5 imaginary numbers. 5 times the imaginary number. Perfect, 5i. Now we can do the same thing here with these other ones. When we simplify these, we're going to do the same things. -1 and 20. -1 factors out into I and I. 20 factors out into 2 and 10 factors into 2 and 5. So we factor out our 2, factor out our I, and we end up getting 2i times the square root of 5. Perfect. Now I want to give you a chance to try this on your own. So again, we're going to factor it out. -1, 180. Then we'll break down that 180. So we've got 2 and 90, 3 and 10, 2 and 5, and we can see -1 breaks down into, not negative, but it breaks down into an I and an I. So all of a sudden we get I's, our 2's. So this becomes 2i times the square root of 15. Now that you've seen a couple of examples of what to do, let's try these two on our own. So what you're going to do is you're going to pause the video, go through the square root of -200 on your own, simplify that. When you've finished, unpause the video, and you can check your solution. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to simplify this out. So I broke my -200 all the way out, and I noticed that I have 2 i's here. I have 2 2's, and I have 2 5's. So what I can factor out here is 10i with the square root of 2. Fantastic. So that is how we can simplify complex numbers by when they have a negative inside. So again, we're going to break it down into -1 and whatever the number is, then break down our positive number. So this can be 8, 5 and 8, and 2 and 4, and 2 and 2. And then we break down our -1. Remember, -1 is I times I. So we can factor out an I, we can factor out a 2, and we get 2i times the square root of 10. And that is how we can simplify radicals when they have a negative inside.